All right, so welcome everybody and good afternoon, Democrats.
Afternoon, Democrats.
Democrats.
I heard Dan and Dolly, that's it. Let's try it again. Everybody unmute. 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, Democrats.
Afternoon, Democrats.
Afternoon, Democrats.
Afternoon,
Democrats.
Okay, good. I think I heard everybody that time. So thanks everybody and good to see everyone. And for those who don't know, my name is John Katz. I'm the president of the Santa Monica Democratic Club. And we're kicking off our primary season of candidate visits with this special Sunday afternoon meeting. Thanks for joining us. It's a beautiful day outside in Santa Monica. And to that point, some people watching may be watching on demand, the YouTube version, the later on version. So thank you to all of you who watch in that format as well. We're going to have all the candidates who are running in a primary come through here between now and the primary election itself. So we're going to have our vote coming up on April 27th. And before then, we have this coming Wednesday, the sheriff's debate. We have Sheriff Alex Villanueva, in addition to his primary challengers, Robert Luna, Cecil Rambo, Eric Strong, and Eli Vera. And also we're going to have Controller Ron Galperin, LA Controller, who's running for Controller, State Controller, Ron Galperin, as well as our incumbent Secretary of State, Shirley Weber. And I'm going to put in the chat right now the RSVP form for that. So you can feel free to sign up. Remember, that's going to be this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. Then a month from now on March 30th, we're going to have our county supervisors debate. Bob Hertzberg, Lindsay Horvath, and Henry Stern all running for District 3. And we'll have them coming through, as well as controller candidate, Mayor Yvonne Yu, and the other candidate running for insurance commissioner, Assemblyman Mark Levine, will come through then as well. Then on April 13th, we'll have our assembly debate for AD 51 with Louis Abramson and Rick Spur. And at the same meeting, we're also going to have controller candidate, Board of Equalization member Malia Cohen. And finally, as I said before, on April 27th, we'll have our endorsement vote meeting for all the races, plus our judicial candidates forum. And so just as a reminder, you can go here, I'll put this in the chat as well, to join our club. And anybody who is a member in good standing by that time will be able to vote. So if you're not a member right now, you can sign up now and you'll be in good standing by the time that meeting comes up. And if you're already a member for 2022, you don't have to do anything. If you remember for 2021, you can just renew. And as long as you do it before that meeting, you'll be all set. So one last reminder, every Thursday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., we have our phone bank through the Westside Democratic headquarters, and you can sign up at the link that I just placed in the chat to do our phone bank. We're calling into Orange County, got to defend Katie Porter's seat, and there's a few other districts that are we've got to make sure we flip from red to blue. We won them in 2018 when they were configured a little differently, and now we're going to win them back with the new redistricted districts in Orange County and do our part here in Southern California to make sure that we retain control of the House next year. So with that said, let's get to our speaker for today. Insurance Commissioner Ricardo Lara made history in 2018 by becoming the first openly gay person elected to statewide office in California's history. Commissioner Lara has served as the California Insurance Commissioner since 2019, focusing his agenda on recovering from natural disasters, resisting climate change, protecting Californians from fraud, ensuring a fair insurance market, and expanding access to healthcare. Please welcome our guest, Ricardo Lara. Thank you, Commissioner Lara. Good to see you.
Hey, John, how are you? Good to see you.
So how have you been? We saw you a few years ago when you were running, and you've had a few years in the job. How's it been going so far?
It's, as you can imagine, it's super busy with these wildfires. It's been, first of all, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Good afternoon. Thank you, Santa Monica Democrats. As you know, for us Democrats, representation matters, and it's been my honor to serve as the first LGBTQ person and the first Latino insurance commissioner in the state of California. And as leaders, we know that we have to look and come from our diverse communities. And I was just thinking about this the other day, but as a matter of fact, there are only 2 California constitutional officers from Southern California. Secretary of State Shirley Weber from San Diego, who was, by the way, my professor at San Diego State. She was a really tough one, I could tell you, and myself. And, at a time when we don't have time for divisiveness in our party, we really need to focus on fighting Republican extremism, as you were saying. And I'm proud to be endorsed by California's firefighters, who I've been working on for the last 3.5 years now, to really temper these wildfires. The California Nurses Association, SCIU, our California Teachers Association, Planned Parenthood, our Senator Alex Padilla, and Governors Newsom, Brown, and Davis. Breaking barriers can sometimes elicit politically motivated attacks and lies. While we say don't let a good lie get in the way of a hit piece. But I really want to focus on Insurance Commissioner, what I've done for you all. Really taken on the insurance industry, resulting over close to $3 billion directly back to consumers. I was the first insurance commissioner in the country to order insurance companies to provide premium relief to our drivers and to businesses around our state. So I hope all of you who have your automobile insurance got a refund or a partial refund from your insurance company. That was me mandating them to do that. I've been addressing the devastating effects of our climate change and our horrific wildfires, including the worst fires in history. That is why I created the first ever climate insurance working group made up of environmental leaders to work with me on ongoing wildfire threats, sea level rise, which is critical in Santa Monica, and extreme heat, which is also critical here for us living in the LA basin. I've been working to protect wildfire victims from being dropped or canceled from their homeowners policy. Currently provided more than 2.4 million policyholders with that protection. I'm so proud that we were able to do that. And then just last week, I announced the results of our year-long work with our state emergency agencies to issue our Safer from Wildfires Insurance Framework. This is really the first time I brought state agencies together to identify mitigation actions that consumers can use using the latest fire science to harden homes, businesses, and to get a discount on their insurance policies. I'm using every tool again to protect our communities. And although it's stalled in the assembly, I remain committed to our fight for single-payer healthcare. As you know, I proudly authored SB 562, my single-payer healthcare bill, which we successfully voted out of the Senate when I was there. And I also authored our Health for All Kids, extending healthcare to our immigrant children. I'm proud to say that today we have over 100,000 undocumented children who have healthcare. But we have to keep fighting. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege for those that can afford it. And I don't care if I get in a Twitter war eventually with crazy Elon Musk over tantrums that he's throwing over insurance regulations that he doesn't like. And so, again, I'm here fighting alongside all of you for our progressive values, no matter who's attacking me and no matter what their political agenda is. My work in the legislature, and I'm gonna humbly ask for your support once again for my re-election campaign. And for those of you that are delegates, I look forward to seeing you all at the convention virtually. And again, thank you for allowing me some time to speak. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Yeah, so you definitely gave everybody a preview for some of the questions. We'll be getting into more detail on some of those items in the next few minutes here. But let's start with sort of a big picture, which also, again, you kind of touched on already, but a lot of people just don't know what an insurance commissioner does. So do you want to just share, like, on your day-to-day or
Absolutely.
over the course of a year, like what kind of activities are you working on?
Absolutely. So John, my job as insurance commissioner, I oversee the largest insurance market in the country, 4th in the world. And I'm also in charge of the largest state consumer protection agency. And so what we do on a day-to-day basis is really keep insurance companies accountable, making sure that they're paying out claims. And then additionally, that we have a strong and robust insurance market in California so that they can pay out the claims, especially during these delicate years that we've had with these massive wildfires, the largest in our history. And so being able to then, and something that I'm really proud of the fact is that for the first time, John, ever, I actually took the office and the department out of Sacramento and out of LA and took them to the communities that were being affected by these wildfires. I've been to 36 counties before COVID hit, and now we're up to 40 something counties virtually, talking to communities, bringing our department out and having those conversations with wildfire survivors. And I'll tell you, unlike the legislature where you get, your bills and you have your regular constituencies, there's nothing like being able to offer services to somebody who has just lost absolutely everything and are still trying to figure out how they're going to rebuild, where they're going to rebuild, if they should rebuild, and allowing them to give them resources. One of the things that I did kind of learn back from my old staffer days in the legislature, I put together right after the Paradise Fire in Chico, we put a whole, full service event where people can talk to their insurance company, be able to get mental health services, be able to get some resources to help them move them into an apartment as quickly as possible. And that's why I love what I do, being able to help our folks. And as your insurance commissioner, I get to do that. I'm leading at a national level with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. I head and chair the Climate and Sustainability and Resilience Task Force, where we're really working on how do we protect those folks that are, we always talk about this protection gap. And the protection gap is those who are going to be underinsured or not insured after a massive flood, earthquake, wildfire, hurricane. And how do we address these issues of being able to ensure that not only the rich people get to rebuild, but that everyone else has options after the devastating effects of climate change. And I'm proud to say that we're going to vote next week, hopefully, on full disclosure of climate risk for insurance companies at a national level, which is what we want. Because unfortunately in California, we only have one domestic insurance company. I don't want insurance companies to hide away in other states. This will guarantee that 90% of the total insurance market in California, well, now these insurance companies will have to disclose through our TCFD survey their financial risk disclosures, something that's never been done before. And so those are kind of things that I've been working on and look forward to working on for the next 4 years.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about a couple of them. So first of all, I know that this week you just announced this new insurance framework that you mentioned earlier, the Safer from Wildfires Initiative. So can you tell us about how that works, and specifically, like you were just hinting at, how we make sure that those that are living in wildfire zones have access to affordable insurance for wildfire coverage?
Yeah, so one of the things, John, that when just through my travels of talking to people and wildfire survivors wanted to know, okay, what do I need to do to keep my property safe? What are the exact things? Because we know there's different communities have kind of a different hodgepodge of different things. And there's the state, there's the county, there's federal. And so one of the things that I said is like, you know what? We need to bring everybody together. And in layman's terms, be able to understand, okay, what does a homeowner need to do to their property, to their surrounding property, and for the first time ever, for their community? Because what we've been seeing is, okay, Mr. Katz, you've done everything, invested thousands of dollars on your property, but then you tell me, well, my neighbor hasn't done anything, or the neighbor in front of me, or I'm backed up against an abandoned property, or it's a second home for somebody and hasn't invested the money. That's going to put your home in peril. So for the first time ever, bringing Cal OES, Cal Fire, the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, the CPUC, and saying, okay, let's all work with the insurance trade associations, with nonprofits, with survivor groups, and come up with the solution of what people need to do. So for the first time, we did that for your property, your surrounding property, and for the community, so that we now start talking about community resiliency and bringing the risks down for everyone. So then we bring the risk down, we keep insurance writing in these communities, we keep the competition that drives prices down again. And we're starting to see that. Last year, I'm proud to say that we've seen a 10% drop in cancellations for homeowners insurance policy in the WUI, the Wildland Urban Interface. So we know this works. I'm proud that it took us a year to release this, but now we have it. And from there, now the next step is making sure that insurance companies give you a discount similar to good driving discounts for doing the right thing. And so we're going to be unveiling regulations in the next week that are going to mandate that they do just that, give you discounts for doing the right thing and mitigating your property, something that right now does not exist. And I'm proud to say that because of our work with the insurance industry and with survivors and with with this framework, we've gone from only 7 insurance companies that used to do this before I was elected to now close to 18 companies. Really 40% of the market now are giving discounts, and coupled with what the legislature has done in providing money for hardening and mitigation and forest management, this is going to be revolutionary for us in this space and keeping communities safe from wildfires.
Great. And another bill I know that's kind of being worked on right now that you're involved with is the heat mapping bill. So do you want to describe what that is?
Absolutely. So part of my climate insurance working group, where we actually unveiled this in Glasgow in COP26, was the fact that many people don't know that extreme heat is the #1 killer of people, specifically when it comes to climactic events. And it often goes unreported because you go to the hospital thinking, okay, it's you're in diabetic shock or you have high blood pressure, but it's all associated around heat. And those of us in LA, in the LA basin, know extreme heat. And so one of the recommendations from our experts was we have to stop treating extreme heat as just another weather event. We need to give it the proper naming and ranking, similar to how we rank tornadoes. We have to start ranking extreme heat so that we can start then categorizing the amount of days. It's estimated that by 2030, we're going to have 100 more extreme heat days. And so what does that mean for communities that don't have air conditioning, who may have medications that need to be refrigerated, or who can't afford to turn on their air conditioning, and how that impacts the health insurance industry is critical. And so this now gives us an opportunity. I'm so proud of the fact that we've introduced this bill. I'm sponsoring the bill with Assemblymember Eddie Garcia from Imperial County and Luz Rivas from San Fernando, who, by the way, have both registered some of the hottest days in our record, and working again with some of our other legislators, Senator Hertzberg, Senator Allen, on this issue, because we have to not treat it anymore as a weather event. We need to be able to give direct instructions to people. We need to interact with our health insurance industry to say we need more resources, and to be able to help cities again protect those folks that are going to be underinsured or uninsured. And really, we would be the first in the country, in the nation, to start ranking these heat waves. And as we all know, in Southern California, this is critical for us and for our livelihood, especially for our most vulnerable, and how it impacts our health insurance industry. We're finally going to get to that point by being able to categorize, record it, and provide key strategies to keep our community safe.
That's great. So then you also mentioned sea level rise as a big issue, especially here in Santa Monica. So how does sea level rise factor into the insurance coverage, and what are you hearing about that from insurance companies? Absolutely.
So there's no doubt that sea level rise becomes critical. We've already seen several parametric insurance products being developed around the world around sea level rise. And one of the things that I'm actually quite focused on, part of, again, of our insurance, environmental insurance working group, is how do we use natural infrastructure that's already in place, and how do we sorry, that's my laundry alarm. Sorry, it's the weekend, laundry day. So what we do is Okay, we know that Hurricane Sandy, with those coastal marshes and wetlands that they had in the eastern seaboard, it was able to save them close to $200 million in damages. And so using that model is, how do we start in California restoring our coastal marshes, our coastal wetlands, so that when sea level rise starts happening or continues to happen, that we're actually protected from those communities. I think about the areas around LMU, right? And those coastal marshes. How do we continue to be able to afford the restoration of these coastal wetlands and marshlands? And we do that through insurance. Why not be able to come up with some financial products that cities can enter, that, then we pay a premium to that insurance company as a city, as a local special district, or as a county, and then it's going to behoove those insurance companies to not want to pay out the claim. So then work with us on mitigation in fortifying our coastal wetlands, so that then we stop the encroaching of our sea level rise. That would be the first of its nation and the first of its kind insurance product that we're working on with communities and local governments to be able to create that. And why sea level rise insurance then helps us, again, protect us from the encroaching sea level rise, as opposed to what we see now, which is that gray infrastructure, or that you see around Louisiana, or you see around in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands, which is this gray massive infrastructure, which are these cement seawalls that, one, are detrimental to the environment, they're more costly and unsightly.
Thank you. So this question is from our executive board member, Dolly Sloan. She asks, insurance companies have been raising rates recently from already outrageously high multi-$1,000 rates. Please explain the reason we still don't have equitable and affordable long-term health insurance. What can be done to accomplish it at the next legislative sessions, and what will you do to help make it happen?
Thank you. Long-term care insurance has been the bane of my existence as insurance commissioner. We've been dealing with these long-term care products that were sold in the 80s, early 90s, that were underpriced and overpromised on protections. And we've seen people living longer. The price of medication is much more expensive, and care is just more expensive. And so what we've been working on, we created a long-term care insurance working group, bringing all these experts around long-term care about how do we go at this, maybe alone as California, because the only answer that the insurance companies have is to raise rates. And that is not enough. We can't just raise rates out of this. We can't just raise rates and pretend people can afford them. And so what we've been doing is I've been actually stalling on all those until they actually come back with me with real solutions for our consumers in those old blocks of business. Moving forward, there's hybrid models and hybrid long-term care policies that allow you to cash out, that allow you to use your money in specific ways, that if but they're still losing money, honestly. And so we have to really look at, can we afford a universal long-term care program in California? And that is what my long-term care working group is working on, to give us solutions as the insurance commissioner and as the state legislature. As we move forward, we need long-term care. Long-term care is critical, but we also can't let just these insurance companies raise rates without and scaling back care in an area where we know that the need is only going to grow. But they're also been losing money. So does that business model even work? Are things that we've been working through this working group that I have, but it is a tough thing that we're working through. And I hope that this insurance task force gives us some solid solutions. Why, I had to bring experts again together to give us these recommendations.
Thank you. So when you were a senator, you were the author of SB 562, which we mentioned earlier, would have enacted single-payer healthcare here in California, but unfortunately failed to pass into law. This year's version of single-payer AB 1400 passed through 2 committees, but then was pulled from the floor when it was poised to fail on the floor. So why does this policy keep failing to pass? And what do we need to do differently if we really want to see single payer in California? Because we have the supermajority in the legislature. So what do you see as the big issue here? And what do we need to do about it?
You know, I'm proud of the fact that when I authored the bill, I think it's the first single payer bill to actually get out of a legislative body. I was able to get the votes together to pass it in the Senate, and to see this fail in the Assembly again is disheartening, but I'm not going to give up, because it is the only way to be able to achieve affordable healthcare. We have to get to a point where we're talking to consumers about what this means. I think people get caught up in like the cost of how much it's going to cost to implement this policy, but also how much we're paying now. It's not like we're going from zero to $400 billion. We're spending $370 billion now on healthcare that is very limited in care, not comprehensive, and you have third-party people, aka insurance companies, determining what type of care you get, when you get the care, if you get it, and how you're going to get it. And so we're already spending an insurmountable amount of money, and it's an insurance company that's determining the care. We need to do a better job of advocating with folks on, you know, how this impacts long-term care. We're also going to need, you know, these federal waivers to get this done. But this has to get done. It's going to get done in increments, and we have to do a better job of messaging on how this gets done. It's not just going to go from one day to the next, but we're also missing the point about how much we're spending now. We're spending billions of dollars now on healthcare that doesn't cover everyone, and that still leaves so many people behind, and it's not comprehensive. It's very limited in care, and that the onus still falls on the individual to pay out of pocket, which with a universal healthcare system, that wouldn't be the issue. So we have to keep working. I'm not going to give up. This is something that's personal to me. As you know, John, I grew up without healthcare in Los Angeles with two undocumented parents. I know what it is to try to put things together to offer care, but we're going to keep fighting, and we're going to keep expanding care, and that's what I've done as insurance commissioner. Is even, you know, most importantly during this pandemic, continue to expand care for people, but we got to get to a single payer system.
And are you speaking to Assemblymember Calra? I mean, are you thinking that this
Yes.
is something that's going to pass in this session, or that is the goal for the next session to do a new bill?
I don't know. I'm actually gonna be up in the Bay Area next week, and part of my trip is to go speak with him and see what his thoughts are on moving forward.
Great. All right. Well, keep us updated. Obviously, it's something that we care a lot about.
Yes, thank you.
So this question's from our school board member, Santa Monica Malibu's Unified School District, Maria Leon Vasquez. How will you mandate insurance companies to lower auto insurance for those working from home and only driving for pleasure or errands? The reductions during the original closure was nothing.
So that's a great question, and that is exactly what I'm doing. You know, we just sent out a note. We sent out a notice a couple weeks ago, because by the way, I was the first insurance commissioner to even do that, to say people are driving less. You are making them pay for a risk that is no longer appropriate to what their premium is, and so you need to reimburse these money back. And so but we said, look, we know everybody has a different policy, and it's hard for us to kind of do a one size fits all. But you have to give us the data of how you're reimbursing people back, right? And so after reviewing this data, we realized that insurance companies only reimbursed it 9% when they should have done close to 20%. And so what I did, because, you know, we're still, even as a big department, we're very limited in our capacity. So we took on the three biggest, you know, culprits, which were CSAA, which is a Northern California version of AAA, Mercury, and Allstate, who represent 40% of the drivers market, and said, you will have 30 days to tell us how you're going to keep reimbursing people up to the 20%, or else we're going to take legal action. Now we're at the point where we're ready to do that. We're going to be working on to see if we do that for other insurance companies as well, as they're continuing to reimburse people now. But again, that is the tool and the power that I have, is that risk reduction. And so as long as we see that there's a risk reduction within drivers or insurance or in certain products, we're going to mandate that not only they reduce rates, but that they continue to reimburse people, because that is that you're no longer paying for the reduction. You're no longer paying for that risk of driving every day. And by the way, I was also the first to do that for our business owners, our restaurant owners, our anybody who modified their business to be able to stay open, who may no longer have 20 employees, or maybe rejiggered and kept some employees home. Again, that risk dropped, so you should be getting reimbursements for that. So that's also going on. And if you have any, and if like I see Erica, State Farm hasn't sent a dime. Erica, I want to make sure I have staff on. We'll get your information, and I'll get staff to call you, because that's exactly what we do. You can go to insurance.ca.gov, drop us a live chat, and we have insurance experts speak multiple languages, and we'll follow up on your case and figure out why you haven't gotten a reimbursement, or why you have one, or why you haven't gotten the amount that you should. But that's what we do for you. So feel free to drop us a line on our website.
Appreciate that. So I wanted to ask you about, there's been reporting that you accepted over $270,000 in campaign donations from the insurance industry, including a firm called Applied Underwriters, which later had business with the Department of Insurance. And you went on to return about 30% of those donations. So that's what I read, that news story.
Right.
So I wanted to know if you could share some context about what happened here. Did the press get the story wrong, or just if you want to clear the air about what happened?
No, absolutely. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. As soon as we realized that we had that money in the coffers, I reimbursed everybody. I reimbursed that money quickly. What I also did was stop fundraising for a year and a half to get a new team in place to make sure that this would never happen again, and that we had the protocols in place to do that. And that was back in 2019. And so we did that. We started fundraising again, and to make sure that we reimbursed every check that doesn't reflect my values. And so we did that, and you know what? It was a mistake. I own up to it. I'm also not going to allow myself to be defined by that mistake. I'm human, and I moved on. And so, I apologize for that.
Appreciate you taking ownership on that. I know it's not easy. Now, speaking of that, so your opponent, Mark Levine, for Assembly member, is going to be visiting the club next month. I'm sure that he'll have a lot to say about you and your term in office. And I know as a delegate, I've been getting a lot of mail from his team as well. So what can you tell us about him or his campaign? What you see as the difference between you two? I mean, just maybe if you want to pre-butt anything that you think he might say.
It's campaign season, right?
Sure, yeah.
We're all adults, and I'm not a stranger to this, but I'll just say, I can't believe that my opponent has the nerve to criticize me when he has taken tens of thousands of dollars from pharma, from charter schools, from the Sackler family, the Fishers, who have put all this dark money to stop school funding, and even from Elon Musk and David Crane, who spend all of his time trying to destroy public pensions. And he even sided with Elon Musk on him wanting to sell consumer data through the tantrum he was just throwing. And you know what? But I'm honestly, look, I've been in this business for so long. I'm proud to be where I'm at and the work that I've done. I'm gonna put the work that I've done forward, and ultimately it's gonna be all of you and the voters who allow me to continue to serve, and which is an honor for me, and just really appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you all at the convention. And really, John, I appreciate your time and your club's time again.
Yeah, of course. And I wanted to just ask one more question, if that's okay, which is, you were sworn in, as we said earlier, the first member of the LGBTQ community elected statewide in California. And what can you sort of describe what that's meant for you as you've served as insurance commissioner for the last few years, how you've represented this community while you were in office?
Thank you, John. it was between COVID and this Trump administration, every day was something different and something new in terms of fighting to protect some of our most vulnerable. One of the things that I felt important as a openly gay man serving in this position, I'm proud of the fact that we were able to come up with unique strategies for wildfire survivors and evacuees, because at certain times we had to make sure that our trans evacuees were feeling comfortable in, and as we often go to churches or religious groups where people get evacuated and they may not feel safe, or the fact that the majority of our unfortunately our homeless youth are LGBTQ. How do we account for them after a fire or after a massive flood or earthquake? Our strategies that we're working on that somebody maybe with my lens or experience would have never done. The fact that I held health insurance accountable when they wanted to abandon our trans youth, and we had insurance companies denying gender affirming care because they took it upon themselves to impose their own views after our children had done all the appropriate steps to be able to get their gender affirming surgery, and to tell insurance companies that they had to abide by our anti-discrimination laws is something that I'm very proud of. And the latest thing that I'm fighting is to repeal this ridiculous, racist, and absurd blood donation ban policy. I'm so honored that I got 12 other insurance commissioners to send a letter to Secretary of Health at the time, to the federal government, and to Secretary of our current Secretary of Health, Javier Becerra, to say eliminate this ban. We're seeing, UCLA Medical Center had to shut down some of its operations because they didn't have enough blood, and we're losing people that are able to give blood over some ridiculous, stereotypical, thought that somehow gay men are somehow much more risky of donating blood when all the blood gets cleaned the same way and monitored the same way. So a heterosexual man can have sex that morning and then donate blood that afternoon. We still have to wait 30 days. And so I'm proud that we're working with Equality California, with so many other organizations and our insurance department to fight this ban. So these are things that, I would think, wow, as insurance commissioner, I never thought I would be at the forefront, but I'm proud that I'm leading that now as an openly LGBTQ insurance commissioner in the country.
Great. Well, we're really grateful for your service for the last few years, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. So any closing remarks? Again, I just want to thank you for spending your Sunday. All of you are activists, are true blue diehards, are the backbone of our party. And I just want to thank you for all that you do, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thank you for allowing me to come speak with you today. I really appreciate you all and look forward to continue to serve as your insurance commissioner. Great. Thank you so much, Ricardo.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you. All right. That's a wrap. See you, everybody.